This spinning governor controls the speed of its many moving parts. Lots of wheels turning. Pistons. Valves. A huge flywheel. A very old badge. Glowing embers. It runs on steam. You must have realized now, of course, it's a fine old steam engine. Hi. I wonder how long it took you to work out that all those moving parts belong to a steam engine. I must admit, the first time I saw the film, I didn't actually catch on until I heard the whistle. But you know, there are so many moving things around us that we often take for granted and never really look at them closely. For example, I wonder if you could guess what this is. A handle? A wheel? Another handle? More wheels, only this time smaller. Some spokes. Of course, it's an egg beater. You see, a painter paints what he or she sees. It is the way they see their subject that shows in their work. So if you are going to create a work of art, the first thing you must do is observe your subject. I always thought that sculptors were more static things, like a politician in the park or a carved wooden figure that you might see in the public library. But this was until I came down and discovered Chris Beecroft at work. This is a model for a larger sculpture, isn't it, Chris?
That's right. It's the larger piece will be made out of steel, fabricated steel forms, plus wooden parts, mainly Tasmanian timbers, celery top, yew and pine.
And where did you get the idea from for this in the first place?
Things that happen to me every day, personal relationships, things like this. I like moving parts and things which move, and I think it was sort of a fun thing.
And the idea of the one that blows around in the wind?
Oh, that was a little fantail which is found on the end of most windmills, which turns the windmill around so that the big blades face the wind. And I rather liked the form of it and the fact that it was made out of wood and very chunky, so I incorporated that as one of my ideas.
When you have an idea, where do you go from there?
And I start off sketching the idea and the site plan and things like this, and after I've sketched it, I then go ahead and alter it, change it, and I spend quite a bit of time just fiddling around on a bit of paper with a pencil.
How different would your original idea be from what you finally end up with?
It's usually quite a bit different. It depends a lot on what materials are available, and so I have a look around and see what is there that I could make it out of, and that probably changes the idea. And so basically it's the same effect, but generally a lot different in the execution and also in the details.
Well, so far we've seen what artists can make from machines. Now let's take a look at what, firstly, a factory owner and then a craftsman can make with machines. The wire wheel feeds the coloured threads onto reels. Thick, coarse thread to make strong, tough carpet. colours of the rainbow, waiting to be chosen as the right colour for that special design. The moving reels combine the red, brown and pale gold threads into a pattern of autumn tones. The blueprint for the carpet explains how many threads and colours must be mixed to make the finished design. The threads are now combined in a type of colour code, which when fed into the huge weaving machine will make a patterned carpet. The bobbins are put on the loom. And woven into the finished carpet. The long fingers feed string into the loom to make the backing for the carpet. The shuttle moves at a steady, even pace so that the carpet has a smooth, even finish. The mechanical movement of this huge industrial loom may look very modern, but in fact the idea behind it is very old, as we'll see. From a factory to a farmhouse and another weaving loom. Rachel McLaughlin is 11 and lives at Piper's River in Tasmania. Rachel and her mum are keen spinners and weavers. The greasy raw wool is spun into fine thread. The machinery used by Rachel and her mother has been used by craftsmen for hundreds of years. The continuous treadle action turns the wheel. The wool is wound onto a bobbin. The fine thread is fed into the loom. And Rachel weaves the thread into material which can make anything from a carpet to a tea cosy. The wooden shuttle works the same way as the carpet loom's shuttle. Rachel has to move the levers by hand, unlike the loom at the carpet factory, which works automatically. Isn't it amazing that the spinning wheel and hand loom designed hundreds of years ago are so like our modern machines? What I have here is an artist's model. It's a jointed man that's just like a human in that you can move his legs, his feet, his arms, and his head. With me in this studio today, I have two people. Kylie, how are you? What school do you go to?
Taruna.
Good. And Barbara, how are you?
Good, thanks.
They have a hobby of making jointed men, and they're called twirly tube men. What materials do you have there, Kylie?
Well, I've got some postcards and some string and a pencil and a rolling pin.
And your beads?
Yeah, and beads.
And what are you going to do with them?
Well, I'm going to use the rolling pin to roll out the postcard.
To get some shape?
Yeah. And then use the pencil to give it a bit more.
I see. Then what happens, Barbara?
Well, I've just finished rolling it around the pencil to get the right shape. And now I'm going to smear the glue all over the postcard.
That's over the back of the card.
Yes. Then you've got to rub it into all the corners and around all the ends, especially, because that's the most important part.
Looks pretty sticky.
Then I'm going to use this because it's the right width to get that shape.
I see.
So I roll it right around and keep rolling right down to the bottom of the postcard. Now I use the rubber band, so it will stay like that.
Until the glue dries.
Yes. The glue takes about 10 minutes to set, and to fully dry takes about 24 hours.
And you only need 3 rubber bands to hold it in place.
Yeah, wherever your glue starts to come off.
Roll it along. And next, Kylie?
Then you've got to slowly cut it up the middle so that you can fit the bead in. And you've got to be careful not to break it because it's still got the rubber bands on.
But it's all dry now, so the glue
Yeah.
won't come away.
Yeah. And then you've got to slowly put the bead in.
Yes.
And then you've got to put it like that. Like that. So,
Do you have to glue it?
No.
And what's the last step, Barbara?
Well, when you've got all your joints together, like when you've put your bead in, it's best to glue it in, not all over the bead, inside the postcard. You put them together with a paper clip so they can move around.
And that becomes his arm.
Then you just put your head and your neck and your legs and your feet together and you finish with your tube man.
I see. Many artists devote their whole careers to perfecting the specific movements of living things. For example, a ventriloquist, or a mime artist, or a puppeteer. But for my money, the most colourful and entertaining of all is the puppeteer. Today we're going to look at some Japanese puppets, which remind me very much of our twirly tube men. Hi, like my new toy? The movement's very different from that of the Japanese puppets, isn't it? It sort of flows on, doesn't it? Rather like a film. In fact, that's how the first films were made, from single-frame drawings run together. Every movement had to be drawn separately. Look, I'll show you. What I have done with the cards is to take them apart and lay them out separately. You'll notice in the first frame the little girl is just about to start to skip. She's standing still as the rope goes over her head, and she's starting to lift her legs, ready to jump the rope. You'll notice too that the hands of the little girls holding the rope are also moving. You can see she moves on. Her hair is flying in the breeze. I'm sure that you could make a simple one of these.